What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Dermy Wormy. I'm coming at you with another video, and we're actually reviewing something a little bit differently today. I review tons of shows that I personally find deplorable, shows that have gone far off of what they should be, and shows that sometimes are just pure cringe. Stuff that I might find cringe and want to rip into all over the place. It's been a little while since I reviewed something that I personally thought was really good and well thought out, very methodical. Each piece moves in a certain way, and that's why we're reviewing House of the Dragon Season 2 right now. Now, I did episode 1, sort of House of the Dragon, back when I was first starting up my YouTube channel and did everything off my phone here. Yeah, it's been a while since I talked about House of the Dragon, but after Season 1, I became hooked on the show. It reminded me of everything that I truly loved about Game of Thrones, even with the lesser episodes. Episode 9, to be fair here, that was not a good episode, but I liked what I saw in general. So when it comes to this, we're going to be reviewing this a little bit differently than I normally review shows, where I'm tearing into them. I have my criticisms for this episode. Don't get me wrong. It's a minor criticism. It's more of a nitpick, but it is a slow, methodical show. It's a show that each little word means something, and I might miss some stuff here or there. So don't be afraid to go listen to other people's reviews as well. I loved it though, guys. I loved every second of it, and I loved how they started this episode right out the gate. As you can see, it's a black screen, but it's a black screen for a reason, because we watch as a raven begins flying through a forest over some hills. We have a discussion going on about, you know, honor, duty, what it means to be a man. And as you know, the raven keeps flying, sacrifice, we see it. We see the beautiful, beautiful hall that we all know and love. Winterfell. Oh, I love the North. Personally, my favorite area in all of Game of Thrones is the North. The North, I think, let's not dance around it. Everybody loves the North. Everybody loves Starks. Everybody loves the Wall. These are fan favorite areas. And yes, I'm biased for the North. You can call me a normie all day and night. The North is where I feel most at home. So it is nice getting to see Winterfell even for a split moment. But we're listening as the current Lord of Winterfell, I cannot remember the first name, but he's the Stark, obviously, is discussing how men do these honorable roles and what sacrifice truly is. And he talks about how they, right now, man parts of the Wall, and that they take, for every 10 men, one of them got to go to the Wall. And we watch as there's a whole ceremony of sorts. 10 men gathering around a bag, passing it all between them. And one of them pulls out a black rock, means he's going to go take the black and be a part of the Wall. And I believe this is a Stark. I believe this is another one of the Starks right now, especially with what was being said. Men of my household, these are important things. I think he is a Stark that is going to be taking the black by force, sadly enough. But again, it's honor, it's duty, it's responsibility, and these are things Starks hold true to the core. And I love seeing that played out, even if it's just a minor moment. We watch as people are taking to go take the black. It's not a sacrifice, it's an honor. It's not something to be embarrassed by. You're serving the North and serving what it means to be a Northern man. These are all things that I'm gripped to. I'm loving every second of it. And then we get over to the Wall as we watch the elevator going on up, and we see there is Jace and the current Lord of the North, whose again name is escaping me, but the current Lord says, hey, winter is coming and we got to be prepared. And then Jace, you know, laughingly says, then what is this white stuff falling from the sky? As the Lord simply says, well, it's this is a light summer snow. It ain't gonna be bad. This is a mercy on anything else. So yeah, that's nice. I will point out my main criticism right now, because this is taking place roughly 2 days, maybe 3 days after we last saw Jace at the end of season 1, and Jace had shorter hair. Much shorter hair. Now, I get it. This is a nitpick. This isn't something that a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did this. No, this is me saying, hey, you needed to have the same hairstyle as you did right then. Okay, this is just a few days later. it doesn't make sense for your hair to have grown that long and that short of a time span. There will be other hair changes throughout this episode, but it makes more sense for the other people to have different style of hair because one, they are women, two, they already have long hair, and three, it's prone to wear hair in very different ways no matter what. So yes, I get this is a nitpick, but it is still a serious thing that I need to be pointing out here, okay? So they end up going up to the wall, and Jace is bringing up, hey, you wore this oath to my sister. Your father did it. Can you please stay true to the oaths that your family has taken? And he ended up saying, yep, Starks never forget an oath. Stark's oaths are eternal. We're always going to stick with it, but we have a problem, okay? As he leads Jace to the edge of the wall, looking out across it, he says, this wall is important. My family did not just build this wall 700 years ago for nothing. Jace, looking out, goes like, surely you guys weren't, you can spare some men. What's the big deal beyond this wall? It's just savages in winter, okay? And Stark fills him in on stuff, says, hey, there's more to this wall than meets the eyes. There's things beyond this that we need to be prepared for. And when winter comes, we need to be well set up and prepared to take care of that, because on the other side of this is death. And he regales him about how his ancestors brought the first Targaryens, Aegon and one of his queens, to the edge to stand right at this point, and they were amazed at how their dragons would not cross the line of the wall. They would not cross the wall at all. They refused to do it. It's building up the whole White Walkers. I do not believe they're going to show White Walkers at all in this show, because if they do, that is going well beyond what they actually need to show. It's been a while since I've actually read A Dance of Dragons and engaged with this book itself, but I can tell you outright, White Walkers don't show up. Starks show up a little bit, but not tons, but it is nice to see this again. And back to the show, after this whole discussion, death and stuff, Jace says, surely you have some men you can spare. And Stark says, I have 1,000 or so graybeards. They're well armed, well set. And Jace responds with, hey, you mean they're old, right? And he goes like, they're great warriors, and they will fight like Northerners, which is a wonderful thing, because, oh God, I love the North. Everything about the North is freaking awesome. But shortly after this, they get interrupted. A man brings over a letter carried by Raven. Stark opens it up and takes a look at Jace, realizing that something isn't wrong. Again, this is just a few days after the events of season 1. And if you guys remember what happened at the end of season 1, Luke's dead by the hands of Aemon Targaryen and Varaxes. I always get the dragons wrong. You gotta bear me on that. It might not be Varaxes, but his particular dragon, the largest dragon out there. Yeah. Jace is now going to be learning about it. We then cut back over to Dragonstone as Rhaenys comes on the back of her dragon, gets all set up. Melanie's roars, of course, and she's dismounting as Daemon starts coming out and saying, hey, mount back up, we're going back out because we need to go fight. And this really does work well with who Daemon is. Daemon's a hothead. Daemon's quick to action. Daemon wants what Daemon wants, and Daemon's gonna do what Daemon's gonna do, and it takes a lot to kind of reel him back in, which is important. But he tells Rhaenyra, hey, we need to go back out there. We're gonna go kill Aemon and his dragon right now, and we need both our dragons to go do that. Rhaenys says, nope, I need some time to rest. I need some time to relax. We've been out patrolling hundreds of miles of sea to make sure our blockade works. This is our time to kind of calm down. And Daemon comes over and says, listen, we have to do this, okay? This is our right now. This is the thing we must do. And Rhaenyra says, did the queen order this at all? And Daemon says, no. Queen did not order it. She's been gone. This is why I'm taking charge. And Rhaenys says, no. She's taking time to grieve right now. Her son just died. And it's this whole thing about grief and recognizing grief and people taking time to grieve. And Rhaenys brings up this whole point of, when my daughter died, I was alerted via crow. I was alerted via just a letter, and I was not able to properly grieve until I saw her body. This is what Rhaenyra is going through right now, and it's an important thing. And then Daemon, stares her down and says, this all could have been avoided if you freaking killed them last season when you had a chance. That's a good point. That's a very valid point. That's criticism that is good, because that's also criticism a lot of the show audiences of the show had. Remember, a lot of this could have been avoided if Rhaenys had just killed all of them in that moment, but decided not to. And I know what the director and the writers had to say after the fact, simply saying, well, I mean, she didn't want to kill any more mothers, but she killed a bunch of mothers amongst all the small folk that day, so knock against it. But that is a good criticism right here. Daemon is bringing up a very valid point. All of this could have been avoided if you just unleashed your firepower when you had to. That's a great moment right there, and I liked it. And Rhaenys walks away. We then cut over to Rhaenyra grieving on the oceans, searching for Jace. As we can see, she's sad. She's hurt. She's grieving in her own right. We then cut over to Driftmark, actually, around a bunch of the shipwrights as they work on the ship. And this is particularly Corlys Velaryon ship in no other terms. Remember, Corlys Velaryon was hurt at the end of season 2. That led into a bunch of stuff. Ship was damaged, and now he's back in full action. We watch as Corlys walks out. One of the shipwrights is right there, and the shipwright, Corlys walks up to said shipwright, discusses with the shipwright, like, hey, how long is it going to be until my ship's all raring to go? And it's going to be several more weeks. So they're going to try their hardest to get it out as best as possible, because Corlys wants to be helping lead the blockade routes, help lead the battle. He's going to be very important to what's going on here, and I love who he's discussing this all with. So, leading the effort, he ends up, having more discussions. The dude comes by and says, hey, this was recently handed off to us by the blacksmiths. And Corlys opens it up, and we see that it is a dagger. And Corlys is kind of mourning in that moment, because he's like, this was specifically made for my heir, Jace. And now he's gone. This hurts a lot. And you're seeing him grieve. You're seeing him mourn the passing of Jace. And I love all of this. I love every second of this. And it's the acting that helps out, as then the man starts, walking away. And Corlys says, hey, I know, I was told that you helped pull me out of the water. And the man says, I was just doing my job. Well, I am indebted to you now, Alan. Now, again, it's been a while since I have actually reread the books or did anything with the books. I do remember Alan being very important. We then cut over to King's Landing, where guards are all getting bounded up. We're seeing how King's Landing has now been affected by everything, and how they're going to start, changing up a little bit, positioning themselves to deal with the fact that they have dragons to have to worry about now. So we watch as Sir Eric is minding the post. We see a bunch of high tower guards, people all over the place manning the post. Very similar to how the Lannisters started doing after season 2, during season 2. Similar approaches, similar things that are going on right here, because again, these are also mirroring what happens during Game of Thrones. Also is mirrored via House of the Dragon. Let's be real honest here. Germ has very specific styles of writing, and they're not very different from each other. So we watch as Sir Eric is making sure all the guards are ready, getting them all positioned, and we see a Scorpion Ballista is right there. For those of you that don't remember what a Scorpion Ballista is, a Scorpion Ballista is this particular weapons that are designed specifically to kill dragons. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of those, and I'm excited. So we see them starting to, get it all set up, and they get alerted that a dragon is coming. So they're starting to load it up. They're all getting prepared, and it is revealed that it's Aemond on top of Vhagar. Vhagar is the name, not Varaxes. Who is Varaxes again? I don't remember. But Aemond on top of Vhagar. Error could have been stopped right there. Landing in. We then cut over to the queen, whose name I can never actually remember off the top of my head, but it's the current queen of the realm, wife to Aegon, and also sister to Aegon. You know how the Targaryens are. But Aegon comes in and says, hey, where's my son at? I would like to take him over to the small council. I'm king now, and it's about time he starts learning what it means to be king. And his wife says that she's right now, he's doing his studies right now. He's in the library. It's not this big deal. And Aegon's like, well, I need him, so let's go get him. And his wife says, hey, what if he doesn't want to be king? And Aegon kind of just brushes it off. And I like what we see here. I like what's going on here, because if you don't remember, again, Aegon was kind of thrusted into being a king. He's not trained to be a king. He's not kingly in any way, shape, or form. He's mainly just going through the motions and is more awestruck with like the power. He's power mad and reality and just going through everything. He ends up starting to head off to where the actual prince is, as his wife comes by and says, listen, I'm scared. Okay. And Aegon's like, there's nothing to be scared of. There was no way we're going to beat off the dragon. We have plenty of dragons. It's not a big deal. And the queen says, hey, it's not dragons I'm afraid of. It's rats. That will come up more importantly later, but everybody kind of just looks at her like, what the heck are you talking about? What's going on? If you also remember last season in regards to the queen, she had some like ability to tell the future in some interesting ways. She could see a little bit more than what's actually led on. A lot of people think she's touched in the head, but in reality, she has something special going on about her. So that even though she might be a little crazy, she's somebody to still watch and take note of. Well, after this, we end up going on and we see Alicent gripping her chair as we hear her moaning, and we notice that she is having some pleasure time between her and, Sir Tristan. Man, both of you people really love to break what it truly is that makes you guys each other, and you're kind of hypocritical in this moment, because Alicent was a very pure person that followed the rules a lot. Tristan was very angry with the fact that, well, let's not mince words here, he got played by Rhaenyra and just used as a tool, and he didn't really like that. And they're going back to some of their other ways that are going on now. Alicent says, hey, we can't do this again. Tristan's like, okay, you're good to go. Can you just, cape me up? And that's the end of that. We then watch as a rat keeper, again, rats, is taking out all the rats, and we're setting up for the small council. Aegon comes in with his the prince, and they're all set up, ready to go. And they start, filling him in on what's the current war effort situation. Just Lord Stark and the current Lord of the Eyrie have not pledged their banners to the king yet. Aegon just calls them, well, see you next Tuesdays right out the bat. And I like this moment because these moments kind of building together show you Aegon is not kingly. Aegon is not prepared to lead anything and is just like, well, I'll just say this. Well, I'll just do this. Well, I'll just go with this. That's really interesting because it shows you the differences between Rhaenyra and Aegon. Rhaenyra was trained, was set up at the small council a lot. Yes, she might have been flippant with the rules, but she knows what she's actually supposed to do. She knows how this stuff's supposed to play out, and she's a little bit more methodical in what she does. Aegon just says what he's thinking. As their discussions of the war front go on, we watch as the prince is actually bothering the current Lannister dude, which is Tyrion. I can never get it right, but they're bothering. We're then having more discussions go on about everything that's actually happening, war effort, blockades, situations. It's becoming a real problem. We then have them bring up hey, we sent a letter over to Rhaenyra. Has she accepted our positions or our apology? And the dude says, what, you mean apology for killing her son? No. Why would she? She has no reason to. And they know war is inevitable at this point. And it's very interesting to see this. And while this is all going on, we have the prince bothering, the Lannister guy. And we end up having, Aegon interrupts everything in the midst of all this. It says, is the prince bothering you? And Lannister's like, nope, it's not bothering me at all. And Aegon then says, I think my son would like a ride. Wouldn't you like a ride him like a pony? And, laughter and, like, oh, he's joking. But Aegon's not joking. Aegon expects him to get up and start pretending to be a pony for his prince. Again, not kingly, kind of power drunk, not a good person. In this moment, Alicent steps in and says, we have no time for this. We actually need to be, governing everything the right way. We have a war about us, and Aegon's like, right, not an important time for horseplay right now, my prince. Please take him away. Shortly after, eventually, actually, Aemond comes into the small council and begins, being a part of this. And people are asking, hey, why is he here? He's not a part of the small council. Aegon, and actually a good, decent move, says, hey, he's our strongest sword. He's our best person. He actually should be here. So Aegon is not kingly. Aegon is not smart. And we'll see more examples of this, but he's not inept entirely. Like, he does have a good, he has a decent argument for why Aemond should be here. I'm not opposed to that. And Aemond, though, is a tyrant amongst tyrants, because Aemond goes straight ahead and says, hey, we need to just be bolstering this point right here. We need to be forcing them to bow down to us, and let's just do it. And I think they were talking about the Tullys at this point. And Aegon says, okay, we'll just take a couple dragons over there. We'll threaten them to either bend the knee to me, or we'll burn them all down and install somebody else there. And Alicent says, no, you cannot do that. That's a dumb move. We need you here at the keep to keep you safe. Plus, we need to think of this more strategically. And Aegon's, like saying, hey, no, we're just going to go do this. We're going to do this. And it took Sir Tristan to kind of step in and say, hey, we need to be very careful here. And Otto comes in and says, we're going to figure this out a right way, a delicate way, and we're going to try to do this our best of a way to not deal with war. Okay, we're going to do this very steadily. Okay. Small council meeting ends. We end up seeing Alicent to walk out, and we are greeted with the last remaining member of the Strong family, whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head either, but he has a discussion with Queen Alicent, and he just states it pretty self-explanatory that he went through all the housekeepers and people like that of Alicent's staff and found out which ones were traitors and took care of them. Alicent says, how did you take care of them? They're not breathing the same air as us. I don't like that little line. It kind of feels a little forced and not so elegant, but you get what he's saying. He killed off a bunch of the people that were not on their side, and then he restaffed the whole group all on their own. By the way, I also forgot this. He did come to talk with her about this before the small council meeting, but her handmaid said that she was indisposed. I kind of lead this to believe that the current dude right here kind of knows that there's a little going on between her and Sir Tristan, something like that. They're very close together. Again, probably in the books a little bit. It's been a little while since I've read the books. Also, we also have to realize that this is the true telling of the actual story. George has come out and said, like, this is the actual telling, so take it or leave it. So, yeah. There's that going on. So, okay, we end up cutting away. Alicent's now taking a bath. No boobies, I'm sorry. But she's watching as, like, all of her handmaids are preparing to actually bathe her and stuff. And she says, everybody get out. I'm going to do it myself. And we watch as she starts scrubbing one part of her arm over and over again, having this disturbing look on her face. And I might be reading too much into this. And I kind of view this as Alicent dealing a lot with grief in a weird way herself, but at the same time, kind of unable to believe what she has done in the short period of time that has gone by. Overthrowing everything, participating in a coup, forcing her hand into a lot of places, killing off a lot of people, and doing stuff that she probably never thought she would actually do. So when I watch her scrub herself over and repeatedly in the exact same spot over and over again, I kind of view this as her trying to wash away that grime and muck that's bogging down her spirit and her soul. I could be very wrong there. It could be that she's just freaking out in her own right, but that's how I kind of view that scene and the symbolism that's going on there. We then cut back to Rhaenyra and her dragon as they approach a cliff. I don't like how this scene works out so well because I don't believe she could actually see what she ends up seeing. But she gets over a cliff. She sees a bunch of fishermen pulling something in, and I don't believe she could even hear what they say. But as we get closer to them, they say, hey, we pulled, it's a dragon wing. It's a dragon wing that we just pulled in. And they start freaking out as Rhaenyra on the back of her dragon come swooping in. They land, and Rhaenyra quickly rushes over to what they pulled in, and you can see it's Luke's dragon's wing, and also it's Luke's clothing within the net. And it's just, you know, you have your music there, but as Rhaenyra pulls it out and stares at it and breaks down, this is a scene that, you know, hurts you. Rhaenyra hasn't said a single word in the episode thus far and just starts crying because she's in grief, she's in mourning, she's taking this in as it goes, and she's a mother. She just lost her son. This is not something that I would wish on anybody, and like a lot's been going on in this period of time. It sucks to see this, but this is good storytelling. This is good acting. This is what a lot of Hollywood and BBC fail to get in this period. You just gotta love it. You gotta love having good storytelling in this moment. So we end up cutting back over to the Red Keep as people are greeting the king, Aegon the Magnanimous. I don't even know what Magnanimous is, but you know, he has his men there saying, like, you know, greeting him, saying all of his stuff, and he does end up looking over at one of his friends, goes like, the Magnanimous. I'm probably even butchering how to say that word, but, and you know, the dude just gives him a shoulder shrug because it's like, well, it's a kingly thing to say. I just picked something out of my hat. I like these little things, just a little back and forth that, you know, like, hey, what's going on there? I don't know. You know, things like that. That tells you characters. That tells you kind of like who these people are. These aren't kingly lords. These are dumb kids who are just like power drunk right now is what it kind of views, and just playing out a part is how I kind of view this whole scene. Aegon takes the throne and begins to listen to some of the goings on in the actual kingdom, taking a bunch of petitions. And one man comes up and says, listen, your king, I've had 10 sheep taken away from me. This close to winter, it's a bad thing, and I need some like help with this situation. And Aegon just says, you know what, we're just gonna hand you off the king, your sheep. We'll make them whole again. We won't need to take it. And when Otto hears this, Otto kind of freaks out a little bit. Otto starts approaching the king, and you can see as the strong guys right here are watching the whole proceedings, but Otto comes up and says, listen, we can't do that, okay? We are unable to do that, because if we do that, all the other sheep herders and people like that are going to be wanting their sheep back. And we need the sheep right now to help feed the dragons because of the ongoing conflict. And pray to God we don't have to use dragons in this war, which honestly is smart. But the fact that Otto had to step in again depicts the whole thing that Aegon's not a good king, doesn't know what to do. And Otto was right. If you give this one man back all the sheep we took, everybody else is going to want their sheep back. It's going to be a serious thing. And, you know, Aegon goes like, oh God, I just screwed up, and says, well, I can't help you out. I'm sorry. Yeah, no sheep for you. Next. And the next dude comes up, and the next dude, there was one other dude who ended up talking about like spices are important right now. We need salt, but because of the blockade, we're having a hard time getting a hold of it. Aegon then just spouts out, that treasonous blockade will be taken care of. I'm going to send a dragon to just go burn it down. Not a good move. Let's be fair here. That's a very bad move to have that go on. You don't want to be just coming out here saying what your next plans are. That you're in the middle of a war right now, my dude. Don't just say that. Everybody, that's gonna get back to the other people. But again, this shows you more. Aegon's not a king. Aegon's not a king. But I do like the next thing. So the next dude comes up, and he's one of the smiths, and he says, listen, we're having a hard time doing a bunch of stuff. You know, we're really grateful for what you're doing and giving us work, but the prices of iron has skyrocketed, and we need to be able to build the scorpions, because scorpions take time, money. It's a long process. So if you want these, we're going to start needing pay up front. Aegon then says, yes, we'll get the pay. You'll get the pay right away. Otto begins approaching the throne, and Aegon says, this war will only be won with the help of the small folks. Again, that's actually a smart line there, and that shows you that Aegon can kind of lead a little bit, but he's not kingly in the slightest. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just kind of going through the motions, but this is a win he got up on. And Otto kind of has to step down, because he's like, yeah, he's right there. We're going to need the small folk in order to help us. Well, shortly after this whole moment, we have Aegon walking up with, you know, a bunch of his friends, and he's like, why did you do this? Well, it seemed like the right thing to do. But then strong guys right there ready to, you know, talk to him. And He's appealing to who Aegon is. Aegon does not want to be king. He's not kingly in the slightest, but he does like the idea of being one of these greater beings, like his grandfather and his great grandfather and people like that. That's what he kind of likes to be, taunted with and kind of poked in pride. He's very easy to manipulate. So Strong starts bringing up, his ancestors and stuff. And he starts saying, you could be this great, powerful king, but it very much seems like, you're being held back by your grandfather, Otto. And, Otto was the hand to your father. Wouldn't it be a smart idea to, pick a different hand? And I like what's going on here. We've seen Strong being very manipulative, very moving his pieces around, doing the whole, talking out of both sides of his mouth. And it's very easy to see that he wants to be the new hand of the king, which I would love to see how this plays out. We then cut over to Alicent waiting in Otto's quarters. Otto comes in and Alicent says, I've been waiting for a while. We were supposed to have a discussion shortly after Small Council. And Otto pours himself a cup and says the petitions went on a whole lot longer. I think he was actually kind of becoming more bogged down due to Aegon and have to deal with what Aegon's doing and try to back and forth, try to manipulate Aegon in such a way to get what he wants. But I could easily be wrong. So Alicent then says, well, are our goals even aligned right now? And Otto says, yes, our goals are to win right now. And Alicent says, that's not what I'm talking about, okay? You spoke up in the Small Council in front of my children when I'm trying to help guide them myself. I get it. We have similar trajectories here, but she needs to still be like in charge of her own kids. And she chastises Otto for, overstepping and trying to kind of overrule what she is saying herself. Now, this is more of a family squabble, not just a Small Council best for the realm kind of squabble, but I do get what's going on here. Alicent is still the mother to these kids, and she's trying to lead them down a similar path, but a different way. And Otto's trying to be Otto and basically try to be king and manipulate them all. Alicent then says, listen, this is what we'll do. We're going to wait till the joys of being king is pretty much over with, and then he will be so easy to ply, move, and manipulate to our own ends. And Otto kind of likes, what he hears there and says, what, we'll do it that way. But you need to realize that there's gonna be violence in order to get victory. There's gonna be bloodshed, and it's gonna be bad. And Alicent says, well, I don't want it to be, unwanted violence and bloodshed. And that's a smart move. You don't want to just go out there and kill everything and destroy everything. You have to then harken back to what was going on during the Small Council meeting. Aegon was just ready to go tear into everybody and force them to bend to his will. Same with Aemond. They were both very ready to just say, let's unleash the dogs of war, force people to bend to our will. And they need to try to steer them away from that, because if you do that, you're going to lose outright. And it's very nice to see that stuff get played out. We then cut over to the ocean. This is actually at one of the blockades. We see as two ships approach another ship and, get it ready to stop. A bunch of individuals come on board. You see the other Sir Eric, leading the blockade effect, inspecting the ship, and they find on the ship the White Worm. Yep. White Worm's on the ship trying to get around. And she stares up at Sir Eric and says, last time I saw you, there were two of you. We then have the White Worm being brought to Daemon, and Daemon then starts chastising her, saying, so how long have you been, spying and giving all your information to Otto? Like, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, he pays me well. And Daemon then says, I never thought of you to be a traitor. And then White Worm says, that's highborn talk. I was a low-born person. I like that whole line because it shows you the difference in these people. The White Worm is a person that worked her way up from being a whore all the way to being very powerful. Master of whispers, is having all the little birds around, similar to Viserys back in Game of Thrones. She worked her way up. So this whole allegiance to everybody, allegiance to one side or the other doesn't really apply to her. It's whoever has the most coin wins. And, Daemon comes up and starts saying, well, I might as well just kill you now because you're the reason this all happened. You're the reason all these people took over. You gave them the king. And she's like, he would have gone home anyways. I just sped up the profit and made some money off of it. And in this whole moment, Damon's, starting to get all flustered and heated. He ends up walking out and says, lock her up in the dungeon. Eric then, proceeds to move on and says, hey, she didn't lie to you there. She told you everything that actually happened. And it's not good, but hey, she's telling the truth. And Damon turns around and says, why didn't you stop this? Why didn't you and your brother just strike him down in that moment? Okay, they're going against what the king said. They're siding with the wrong person. They're installing Aegon. Why didn't you strike him down? And Sir Eric says something very smart, very wise, and very good to hear. And it's, listen, I'm ashamed I didn't do it, but the problem is both me and my brother took the oaths at 8 and 10, and we swore to protect the royal family at any cost. So then what happens when the royal family starts fighting with itself? That's a good question. That's a great thing to ask. And it tells you like what's going on between the two Erics. What side should they actually take? And it was pretty easy to figure out. There, like the two Erics didn't see eye to eye towards the end of season 1. One Eric was very much fine with Aegon's going-ons, and the other Eric, the more he saw it, he was very disgusted by it. But it does tell you, like, hey, what are we supposed to do here? We're sworn to your family. We're sworn to protect all of you at all times. So what are we to do when you guys start going against each other and start threatening to kill one another? How are we supposed to deal with that? And I like that question. I like that thought process. And that does beg the question of what is the correct moves to take here? What is the correct thing to do? Oh, God, I love good storytelling. So Damon starts, walking away because we start hearing Rhaenyra and her dragon come in. And we watch as she then approaches her own little small council and stuff. She gets greeted by Sir Eric saying, hey, Queen Rhaenyra, Queen of the Andals, the Rhynar, the First Men, yada, yada, yada. Damon comes up to greet her, and, we see Rhaenyra is very, very heartbroken as she walks up. We see everybody there. Everybody's ready to go. We do see the two of Damon's kids here, and I know somebody's going to probably point it out, so I'm going to beat it here. I was nitpicky about Jace's hair at the beginning of the episode because this is just a few days later. But if I could get it just right, we have Damon's daughters over here, and they have 2 different hairstyles right now as well. Now, again, this is why I think the hair nitpick is, it is a nitpick, but it is something to point out, and why this would actually not be a defense for the actual nitpick itself. As you can see, they're royalty, they're nobles. As you can see, they're nobles, they have longer hair, they're women. The women wear their hair down in multiple different ways all the time. And just a few days later, I could see them, one of them, instead of having that big updo wig thing, putting it down, letting it hang out, still in braids, but in a different style. The other one had a bit more crazy kinky hair. What you got going on there? She's now kind of straightened it out, make it more ladylike, a little downish, a little bit more. And that still works because one didn't have braids before, one of them did. They just wore it a little bit differently. That's not a big problem, okay? That doesn't take you out of the thing. Jace's hair being long is still an issue, but okay. So Rhaenyra, she's getting, informed about what's going on here. You can see like she's still grieving. She's still having a hard time. You can see all the red around her eyes and on her cheek. And what she says is, bring me Aemond. And she just walks away. And I love that because she knows what she wants. She wants Aemond's head right now because Aemond's the reason all this has gone down. Aemond's the reason her son's gone. And in fact, Aemond did a lot of the garbage to himself back at season 1. So him being a little butthurt is all on his own. Okay, I get Rhaenyra did mother a bunch of bastards, but let's not mince words here. Frickin' Aemond's a goddamn prick and caused his own eye to get cut out. Damon sees what Rhaenyra says and then starts plotting his own little thing because I like what he has planned. He goes to the White Worm and sits down at her and says, you know what? I'm sorry. Surely there's a way to help fix this because you have spies within the Red Keep. You could help us out and, assist us. And she says, listen, I'm not in your thralls anymore. I'm not connected to you. I don't care. You can't say anything that's going to make me give it up to you that easily. And he just looks at her and goes what about transaction then? Give me the knowledge you know. for your freedom. We then cut over to Rhaenyra. She's, grieving. She's mourning. And Jace is brought in by his betrothed, and, music's getting solemn. Rhaenyra looks at Jace. Jace starts saying, listen, Lady Jane Arryn has pledged her support to us, and Lord Cregan Stark. Cregan, thank you. Thank you to my wonderful and helpful closed captions. Those could sometimes help in a pinch. But anyways, Cregan Stark has also, pled to it. And while he's doing this, you can hear his voice is, weak. He's having a hard time doing this. He's, fighting back the tears. And Rhaenyra just comes running up, and they hold each other as they break down crying. Because again, their son just, his brother, her son, he's gone. He's dead. We cut over to Alicent walking into the keep of the Seven's Keep, walking up, has a candle ready, and begins lighting the candles. She does this a lot. We saw this back in season 1 where she's mourning the dead. She does this regularly to talk to her mother, talk to people that have died, and she lights one for Arryn Flowers, who I believe was the lord that tried to, escape and discuss with Rhaenyra and inform them about the treacheries going on, and he ended up getting hung for it. She then lights a candle also for Viserys. And yeah, but while she's lighting candles, we have the funeral for Luke going on, as we see, Daemon's kids. We have Rhaenys here, and they're watching as it's going on. It's just such a sad moment, because also his wife his betrothed is there crying. And remember, they were cousins to each other. They did connect a lot. They were family. So it is sad to see this go by. And we watch as Luke comes up, throws something in. Joffrey comes up, throws something in. And we then cut over to Alicent lighting a final candle for Luke. It says Luke Valerian, as she's lighting that candle, doing a prayer for him, because she still suffers. She still has a soft spot for Rhaenyra, because they were friends at one point. And Rhaenyra throws something in as the fire rages, and she goes away crying. Yeah, I like that scene, because it also shows you, one, they're grieving, they're hurt, they're suffering right now. All of them are suffering, and Alicent still has a thread of humanity left in her and a love for Rhaenyra. Alicent, these are all horrible human beings, but Alicent did try to at least mend the bridge between the two of them in episode 8 last season and at the whole feast. And they were going to try to come together, but it appears that bridge is long since gone, and that sucks. But we then cut over to King's Landing as a boat starts approaching across the Blackwater and coming up, and the person gets out, and it is revealed, I'm trying to get it to be Daemon. Because this is the dark part about to start unfolding, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I love it. So we watch as Daemon walks up to the gate, greets a gold cloak, and says, I bring tribute, and I hear that you don't like the high towers so much. And the dude says, F the high towers. And he lets Daemon in. He's kind of helping Daemon hide and disguise himself as he's pulling him around, kind of like a bad person trying to take him away. And they get brought over to the same rat keeper from the beginning of the episode, where Daemon starts saying, listen, I hear you're the rat keeper of the castle, and you like to fight with dogs and have a bunch of debts and stuff. Well, I have a job for you. And he fills him in on what the job is. I want you to take my friend here and your knowledge of the castle and go kill Aemond. Bring his head to me. That's what I want. And if you do it, not only do you get this big bag of gold right now, you get another bag of gold later. And the dude takes him up on the offer and begins to lead them away. We then cut over to Aemond and Sir Tristan talking about the war front and, plotting themselves, saying, hey, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this, and we should be leading the vanguard, me on my dragon. We could crush this instantly and get so many forces on our back. And, they're plotting themselves, and they're like, listen, we can potentially do this. We have to petition the king privately. And Aemond starts saying, hey, my brother, he's being held hostage by my mother and my grandsire. And it's because Otto has ambitions well beyond just being the hand of the king. And my mother is weak because she still has love in her heart. And Sir Tristan says, it's not your mother's fault. It's not. Okay, this is Rhaenyra's fault. Rhaenyra is a spider filled with tricks and poison, and she webbed your mother into it, and she's now weak as she's trying to fight through it, and it's a bad thing. And, you know, Aemon doesn't truly believe this. Tristan is still more grieving after the bad things that happened, but as they're discussing this, door opens up, and Otto comes in and realizes that, hey, there's some stuff going on here. He tells Tristan to go back to, you know, his guard duty, sits down with Aemon and says, listen, you better not be plotting anything behind the king and my's back, okay? King and I's back. We need to be working on this together, okay? You are a very hasty individual that has a lot of anger in you. You need to hold back, and don't you worry, there will be plenty of time for you to have fun. As that scene kind of ends, and I like that, okay? Otto is a bad dude. I do not like Otto at all. I like his characterization, though. But Otto knows how to control his family, and knows how to control what he needs to control, and is, you know, trying to put that leash on Aemon a little bit, because Aemon frickin' started this garbage! And it ain't good. So, okay, we then cut over to the rat guy and the guardsmen, you know, getting all prepped up and heading into the keep itself. They have a dog there. The dog is mainly there for a disguise to help them get in there. They begin getting into the castle, walking up the ways, using their back ways, and they come to the actual Iron Throne room, where you have Aegon there talking about with his friends and showing again he's not a king, because he's getting drunk with his friends and talking about, oh, what does magnanimous even mean? I should have this great name, you know? And they're being childs. They're being childs. They're being, you know, dumb as they're drinking the night away and not doing the right thing. We then have the two rat people, you know, keep moving on. The guard ends up looking up, and you can see a statue of King Viserys there. Long are those days gone. We watch as the guard keeps moving on, and eventually the rat keeper comes to a halt, because he says, listen, the royals live up above, and the people that take care of up above are actually a different set of rat keepers. And the dude starts freaking out and saying, if you don't help me get up there, I will off you and take the gold myself. And the dude then says, fine, I'll just help you. He kicks the dog out of the way and says, this way. They start going upstairs, getting into the upper levels, and they come into the exact room where Otto and Aemon just were. And the guard dude starts taking a bunch of the money, says, listen, we need to be, you know, hurrying this up. Here's a trap, start setting up for, you know, looks and stuff. I'm going to go try to find the other person. Okay, I'm going to go try to find Aemon right now. And guard dude walks out, starts looking around. He then comes across one of the handmaids, the queen, doing her thing, and he's like, listen, I'm just a rat keeper. He begins trying to set up a trap himself, and then as the handmaid leaves, he pulls out a knife as they begin trying to hunt down Aemon, but he ends up hearing his guys start laughing and saying shut up, as he then starts running over there, and he finds him with the queen, blade ready. It says, she's the queen, she's ready to go. And, you know, guard dude's like, she's not a son, it's a son for a son, we can't be killing her. And he's like, no, but we have a better one, as he points over to the prince and princess, the current sons to the king and queen, son and daughter to the king and queen, and they plan to get that son. As they start looking at them, goes like, they look the same, which one's the boy? And they ask the queen, point it out, and if you don't do it, we'll gut all of you right here and now. So she doesn't, you know, point it out first, but she tries to hand over a necklace, saying, this is very valuable, you can leave. Listen, we're not doing that. That's not a son. We're here for his head. And she, you know, freaking out, not knowing what to do, ends up pointing to one of the kids, and, you know, the guard dude goes over and says, this better be the one, and then starts saying, no, this can't be the one. She wouldn't give it up too soon. And rat hunter guy goes like, no, she's telling the truth. That's him. And he then, a guard dude tells rat catcher to kindly hold him down as we do the job. and we start hearing as the blade's slicing, grunting's going on, cutting through is happening, because my god, is it dark. And we watch as the queen takes the other daughter. I don't know if they would have actually allowed this to happen, because in the book it plays out very differently, and it's not how this goes on. But she ends up getting her daughter away, running away as fast as she can, as quietly as she can. She gets downstairs. She starts becoming like, I don't know what to do. She then goes to her mom, who we see her mom's having a fun time with Tristan again. And Queen sits down in the corner and goes like, as her mom's like freaking out, like, why are you here? What's going on? And she says, they killed the boy, as the episode ends. And I love it. Now, I know I have one of my friends already telling me that they thought this episode was a little bit slow, it was a bit of a meh. But when it comes to this show, when it came to season 1, episode 1 was very slow, methodical, and it was build up to what ended up happening in episode 3. Now, this became dark real fast, but again, it's slow, it's methodical, it's build up, it's certain things are moving out and playing out a different way. And this is another piece to the board to what will ultimately happen and continue happening as this House of the Dragon and this Dance of Dragons go on, which will be brutal, miserable, and tons of people are about to die. I think this is a great setup to the season. I'm already hooked. I'm ready to see what's going on, and I'm happy to have something that I can review and discuss that is not just Doctor Who, Disney, Marvel, superhero bad garbage right now. Here's something actually really good, really fun to watch, and really sit down and think what's happening before you start making your decisions and stuff. I watched this episode 2 times before making this review, and I'm planning on probably watching it again just to, look it over, see what I'm thinking. And as time goes on, I'll watch these episodes over and over and over again. But I love what I saw here, and I can't wait to see more. But I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Let me get you guys thoughts on all this down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video go live, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye for now.